Ah, the good old days when footballers ate kebabs and drank pints at half time. Things have changed a lot over the years, so join me on a journey from gout to knout as far as bad nutrition goes. What terrible things did footballers used to consume? What are their favourites now? Who changed the culture? And just how much cattle does Erling Haaland eat each day? Before protein shakes and chia seeds, there were bacon sandwiches and Benson Hedges. Let's go back to when footballers treated their bodies like rental cars. They drove them hard, filled them with junk, and handed them back to their owners, most likely smoking. In the 1960s, Jimmy Greaves, England legend, Spurs hero, and part-time pub entertainer, said his pre-match routine was a few pints on Friday and a fry-up on Saturday. And he wasn't joking. Then again, he still scored over 350 career goals, so maybe he was onto something. Players would literally smoke in the dressing room. Chelsea's Peter Osgood used to have a cigarette just before kick-off, sometimes during half-time. Leeds United players would light up before the second half like they were waiting for a bus. And in those days, managers didn't mind. In fact, Clough once told a player who'd been caught drinking midweek, "If you can't play after a night out, you're not much of a player." This was sports science, 70s edition. Clough himself was known to take players for bonding sessions. Translation: 12 pints at a kebab. His Notts Forest team once celebrated a big win by getting drunk in an airport before a European Cup match. They still won the whole thing. In the 1980s there was Liverpool. Yes, that Liverpool that dominated everything, and especially Europe, while running on pints of bitter and sausage rolls. The coaches kept crates of beer in the changing rooms, and the famous boot room was basically half tactics, half pub. And this section wouldn't be complete without the obligatory mention of Paul Gascoigne, bless him. He's admitted that he turned up for training once still sweating lager. His diet was, in his own words, fried breakfasts, crisps, Mars bars, and about 6 pints of lager. Oh, and the occasional steak if I fancy being healthy. Even when nutritionists began to appear, no one took them seriously. One early expert at a Premier League club recalled giving players bottles of water and being asked, "What's this for?" When Sir Alex Ferguson first arrived at Manchester United, players were still eating bacon sandwiches before training. Ferguson replaced the bacon with boiled chicken. This was such a revolution that the players called it the chicken years. Fitness back then was simple. If you could run after a night out, you were fine. Recovery was a pint and a packet of crisps. Imagine telling an 80s footballer that to facilitate the aggressive press, he'd have to drink beetroot juice and snack on kale chips. He'd probably have knocked you out because that sort of stuff was fine then too. But things were about to change in a big French way. Then came Le Professeur Arsène Wenger. When Wenger arrived at Arsenal in 1996, English football was still basically a buffet with studs. He looked around and said, "Non." He banned chocolate bars, he banned booze at team dinners, he even banned ketchup. The players thought he was mad. Ray Parlour said, "We used to hide ketchup bottles in our socks. He'd walk in and we'd shove them under the table like school kids." Wenger's philosophy was, what goes into the body determines what comes out. I won't go into too much detail how that works. Out went fry-ups, in came pasta, steamed vegetables, grilled chicken. He introduced supplements, vitamins, hydration tests, yoga and stretching. All that terrible stuff. Tony Adams said, he told us when to eat, when to stretch, when to sleep. We thought he was crazy. Then we started winning. And win they did. Doubles, titles, invincibles. All the kind of stuff Arsenal used to do. Wenger's changes added years to players' careers. Before him, players kind of retired around 30. After him, 35 became the norm. And now Cristiano Ronaldo plans to live and play forever. The rest of the league followed fast. Manchester United brought in experts. Real Madrid hired chefs. AC Milan built Milan Lab, a science hub where they basically turned players into cyborgs. English football went from hangovers to hydration charts. Wenger didn't just change diets, he changed mindsets and made them more unhappy. But more importantly, he made footballers realise they weren't pub lads anymore, they were athletes. So before we dive into what footballers eat today, let's play a little game I like to call Guess Which Footballer's Liver Was Up Against It. 3 questions, all true stories. Let's see how much of the old school madness you actually know. Question 1. Which football legend once admitted to drinking 4 bottles of wine a day? At his lowest point, yet still captained his club and country? Is it A. Paul Merson, B. Tony Adams, C. George Best, or D. Phil Jones? Time's up. It was Tony Adams. Arsenal's rock at the back, and by rock I mean rock bottom, turned his life around and became a symbol of recovery in the game. But imagine trying to defend corners after a Merlot marathon. Question 2. Which player used to eat 2 massive fry-ups, steak and chips, and a pudding before a match? A. Neil Ruddock, B. Frank Lampard Sr., C. Paul Gascoigne, or D. Phil Jones? The answer? Neil Razor Ruddock. The man's arteries deserve a medal. He once said, "I don't believe in warm-ups, I believe in fry-ups," and somehow he still made an England squad. Question 3. The final question. Which legendary manager once caught his team drinking pints the night before a match, and instead of punishing them, joined in? A. Brian Clough, B. Sir Alex Ferguson, C. Harry Redknapp, or D. Phil Jones? Of course, it was Brian Clough. The man who believed if you can't play after a night out, you're not much of a player. And to be fair, his teams won 2 European Cups. Maybe the Guinness was good for you. So how did you do? 3 out of 3? You've clearly got the wrong role models. 1 out of 3? Don't worry, your liver does thank you. Right, now let's contrast that with what footballers eat now. So what is on the plate of a modern footballer? Spoiler, it's not chips. Imagine you're a Premier League player today. Your breakfast might look like something out of a wellness influencer's Instagram, and just as dull. Breakfast, porridge with blueberries and honey for slow release carbs. Scrambled eggs on sourdough, maybe a smoothie, banana, spinach, almond milk, protein powder, a sprinkle of smugness. Lunch, grilled chicken, quinoa and roasted veg. Or salmon with brown rice and avocado, washed down with about 3 litres of water because hydration is king. Dinner, pasta with tomato sauce and chicken before a match, or steak and sweet potatoes if it's a rest day. Always followed by a recovery shake, even if it tastes like wet cardboard. Everything is measured. Carbs for energy, protein for muscle, fats for recovery. It's all planned by nutritionists who sound more like scientists than chefs. At top clubs, players literally have their own meal plans. The macros are adjusted depending on position, playing time and even sleep quality. So if you're a midfielder running 12k a game, you'll eat more carbs. If you're a goalkeeper, you'll eat fewer, less running, more sitting in judgment and shouting at people. Even cheat meals are calculated. Players can have pizza as long as it's whole grain crust and low fat cheese, which frankly isn't pizza. It's performance food, every bite has a purpose. The days of guessing are gone. The average professional football player's diet now is like if you typed in "make my life as boring as possible" into MyFitnessPal. But it's not all kale and misery, just mainly. Even the most disciplined players have their weaknesses. Cristiano Ronaldo, like your mate Dave, eats 6 times a day. But the difference is Ronaldo eats fish, chicken salads, avocado, and toast if he's lucky. Always whole grain. But his mum revealed his favourite dish is salted cod with onions and fried potatoes. Even CR7 can't resist fried spuds. Lionel Messi used to be a pizza and coke addict early in his career when he was younger. A nutritionist kicked that out of him and banned him from fizzy drinks. Then again, he did still sneak them in. His go-to meal now is grilled chicken with olive oil and veg, but after a win, pizza. So, mainly pizza. The Viking cyborg Erling Haaland takes things to Norse god levels. He eats heart and liver from grass-fed cows, drinks milk by the litre, and says it makes him feel invincible. Translation, if a farm could play football, it'd be him. Marcus Rashford loves Caribbean food, especially jerk chicken, but now it's grilled, lean and prepped by a nutritionist. He said, "I still eat what I love, I just do it the healthy way." King Zlatan the Invincible once said, "You are what you eat, so I eat a lion," which is either a metaphor or a confession. Even with all the science, footballers are still allowed a weekly cheat meal. It keeps them sane. And honestly, when you train 6 hours a day, you've earned your pizza. And if you play for Man United, you've still earned it anyway. So where's it all going next? The future of the professional soccer player's diet is getting weird and high-tech, just like the rest of the world. We're talking DNA-based diets, AI meal plans, glucose monitors and training kits. Some players already wear blood sensors that tell them when to eat carbs. At top clubs, chefs, dietitians and data analysts all work together. If a player's iron level dips by 1%, their next meal might include spinach or liver that day. And the focus now? Gut health. Probiotics, fermented foods, kimchi. The dressing rooms are starting to smell like hipster cafes. Sustainability's on the rise too. Some players are cutting down on red meat or going plant-based. Hector Bellerin went vegan, Messi eats less steak, and clubs like Forest Green Rovers have gone fully vegan. There are other footballers as well that have chosen to be unhappy. In 10 years you might see footballers fueled by lab-grown chickens and algae smoothies. The end goal's the same: longer careers, faster recovery and fewer injuries. Basically, the food of the future won't just fill you, it'll upgrade you. And all this is obviously if you're a pro. If you play Sunday League, then you shouldn't be watching this, you should be drinking, preparing for the weekend's game right now.